I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and in this video I'm going to show you how to assemble the long-necked bird pattern. So it includes pieces that will work, basically beaks, that will work for herons, ibises, cranes, and also a flamingo. So here's how you put it together. Okay, this is the video showing how to assemble the crane or the heron or the flamingo pattern if you are not using a light box. So it's all the same pattern. There's just a few different beak shapes and other parts that will help you make one or the other. So I've got all of my pieces prepared and ready to go. That means I printed my pattern, all the pieces onto the paper side of fusible backed adhesive. You can also trace it, and I use Heat and Bond Light for all of my quilts. Then I fuse it to the back side of the fabric and then cut it out on the solid lines. So that's going to leave some dotted lines and some solid lines inside the pattern. The dotted lines are placement guides that show you where applique pieces are going to sit, and the solid lines are stitching lines that will you will do some detail stitching on those. And I like to transfer those using a fine tip Sharpie. It is a permanent pen, but it's okay because I'm going to stitch over those stitching lines with black thread over the black pen, so you'll never see the black pen anymore. The eye I also did with the Sharpie, and that's okay because I'm going to fuse a solid black eye over it. But if it's not an eye going on top of it, if it's not solid black going on top of it, I usually use a piece of chalk. Let me show you. You can see that on this one. So I used black for the line down the center of his beak, and I used chalk for the placement guide. So there we go. And we are all ready to put this one together. So this one is a sandhill crane. He specifically has that coloring, but you can use this to make all different kinds of cranes and herons and ibis and all those long-necked wading birds, because they all have the same kind of S-shaped neck, but they have different shaped beaks. So the pattern has 3 different beak shapes that you can interchange in there. They also look different when they fly. So cranes fly with their, I think cranes fly with their necks straight out, and herons fly with their necks in an S shape. I hope I didn't get that backwards. So the beak just tucks behind the head, and as soon as that chalk line is covered up, we know we've got good coverage. There we go. I'm gonna ding that down just a little bit more. I want him to point down some more. And then I'm going to put an eye spot on this guy, which is going to make those eyelashes difficult, but I'll be able to see through them. I'll fix that up. And then we're going to put the eye in there. And I'm going to have to peel this up a little bit. There we go. There's the eye. So the sandhill crane is the only one that you're going to use this red spot on, but I'm doing this one specifically. This color scheme is for a bundle that I'm doing for national parks, and those sandhill cranes are kind of a really, really famous animal that's in some of our national parks. And so I wanted to give you a spot to use for that, but it's the only one that you'll use that spot on. So there we go. All right. Now I am going to take this over to my ironing board. You know, I'm going to make that point just a little bit more down. There we go. I think I like that better. All right, I'm going to take this over to my ironing board, fuse everything in place, and then I will do all of the outline stitching on it and bring it back here and show you the finished crane, and also show you a blue heron and a flamingo I made with the same pattern. All right, here is one finished long-necked bird. This one is a heron. So they all have the same head, but this one has kind of the straight, long beak. But I've got I made 4 total samples of this one because there are a lot of different ways to put it together. So this one is a scarlet ibis. So an ibis has a much longer curved beak, so it's longer and more curved than the heron. So that is another option. I've also got a flamingo here. So you've got that chunky flamingo beak, and his beak sits on top of his head instead of being tucked underneath it like the other birds, but everything else is the same. And I've got one other version that I wanted to show you. So in this one, it is a sandhill crane. So I used the same beak as the heron. Cranes and herons look really, really similar unless they're flying. When they're flying, I think cranes fly with their necks straight and herons fly with their necks in an S shape. But otherwise, they look very, very similar. But the sandhill crane has this distinctive red spot on his head, and I wanted to make that because this is for a national parks quilt, and the sandhill cranes are in a couple of our national parks. So I wanted to include the extra piece that you needed specifically for that. But if you wanted to add pieces to make other very specific long neck birds, if there are a crest or anything like that, you could super easy add something like that to the existing shape. But the beak is the tricky bit, and I've given you all the beak shapes that you should need. So you can get this pattern at shinyhappyworld.com. I'm Wendy, and I will see you next time.